Alex stood on Zephyria Prime, the sprawling intergalactic marketplace before him. Bright colors swirled from every stall, each one selling bizarre and alien goods. It was a cacophony of sound, strange languages mingling with the hum of alien music. The vibrant life of Zephyria Prime was both awe-inspiring and overwhelming to Alex. His earthly clothes seemed out of place among the extravagant garments of the many alien species. Some of them glowed, others shimmered with textures Alex had never seen. Despite his unease, there was a thrill in being so far from home, a place that barely knew the stars. Just another adventure, he whispered to himself, clutching the small map of the market that was more confusing than helpful. The more he explored, the more he felt a growing sense of excitement. He hadn't come all this way to be intimidated by strange planets. As he weaved through the crowds, his eyes caught a glimpse of a blue-skinned merchant waving him over. Strength for the soul. The merchant boomed, his broad smile revealing sharp teeth. His stall was overflowing with iridescent fruits that shimmered under the sunlight. Alex hesitated, then gave a polite shake of his head. "No thanks," he mumbled, not quite ready to test his digestive system with alien produce. He continued walking, absorbing the marketplace's sights and sounds, his mind racing with curiosity. Suddenly, a melody filled the air, delicate and haunting. Alex turned, drawn toward the source of the sound. In the center of the marketplace was a makeshift stage, and there, standing under the spotlight, was an alien woman with flowing silver hair and skin that shimmered with shades of blue and violet. Her voice soared through the crowd, wrapping everyone in its embrace. Alex stood still, mesmerized. Her song painted pictures in his mind, images of distant planets, unknown stars, and ancient stories lost in time. He couldn't move. He didn't want to. There was something ethereal about her performance that tugged at his soul. It was as though the entire marketplace had come to a standstill, entranced by her voice. When the song ended, the crowd erupted into applause, but Alex remained frozen in place, his eyes fixed on her. She caught his gaze and smiled, her silver eyes gleaming under the soft lights. Unable to hold back, Alex stepped forward, but in his excitement, he stumbled and crashed into a towering blue-skinned creature. The alien turned, glaring down at him with eyes that gleamed with annoyance. "Watch it, human," the alien growled. "Sorry," Alex stammered, quickly stepping back. Embarrassment surged through him, but before he could apologize again, the alien brushed him off and moved away. With a deep breath, Alex collected himself and turned back to the stage. The alien girl was still looking at him, her smile never wavering. She stepped off the platform, moving gracefully through the crowd until she was standing in front of him. "That was incredible," Alex blurted out, struggling to find the right words. "You're singing, I mean." The alien woman's smile widened, and her eyes twinkled with amusement. "Thank you, human," she said in a melodic voice. "But I must ask, what's between your legs?" Alex blinked, his face flushing red. "Excuse me," he stammered. She burst into laughter, her voice a symphony of amusement. "Your legs, human. Do you really use those strange tubes for walking? They seem so ungraceful compared to my people." Realization dawned on Alex, and he couldn't help but laugh along with her. "Oh, you mean my legs? Yes, we use them for walking, though I'll admit I'm not the best at using them tonight." The alien girl chuckled, her laughter infectious. "I am Lyra," she said, her voice softening. "And you are?" "Alex," he replied, feeling more at ease now. "Well, Alex," Lyra said, "would you like to explore the market with me? I can show you the true wonders of Zephyria Prime." Alex smiled, his heart racing with excitement. "I'd love that." And so the two of them wandered through the bustling market, their conversation flowing effortlessly. Despite their differences, there was a connection between them, a shared curiosity about each other's worlds. As they explored the stalls, tasting exotic foods and admiring strange artifacts, Alex found himself captivated not just by the marketplace, but by Lyra herself. She was unlike anyone he had ever met, and with every passing moment, he felt himself being drawn deeper into her world. The marketplace's vibrant colors blurred as Alex and Lyra continued their conversation, moving through the bustling streets of Zephyria Prime. Despite the initial awkwardness of their exchange, they found themselves falling into a rhythm that was effortless, as if they had known each other for years. The energy between them was magnetic, drawing Alex deeper into a world he had only imagined through the few books and documentaries he'd seen about alien species and distant planets. As they wandered through the marketplace, Alex couldn't help but be fascinated by Lyra. Her silver hair shimmered in the soft lights of the stalls, flowing around her like a living thing, reflecting the colors of the bustling alien environment. Her violet-blue skin seemed to pulse with life, her eyes catching the light in ways that made them appear as if they were glowing from within. The more he observed her, the more he realized how vastly different her world was from his own, and yet there was something so profoundly human in the way she smiled, the way she laughed, and the way she looked at him with curiosity. "So, you've never been to Zephyria Prime before, have you?" Lyra asked, tilting her head slightly as she observed him, amusement flickering in her eyes. "Is it that obvious?" Alex laughed nervously, rubbing the back of his neck. "Yeah, first time here. Actually, it's my first time off Earth." Lyra's eyes widened in surprise. "Your first time off your homeworld, and you came to this place? Zephyria Prime isn't exactly the most welcoming planet for newcomers." "Well, it wasn't really my choice," Alex admitted, his voice dropping slightly as he glanced around at the chaos that surrounded them. "I'm here on a sort of diplomatic mission." Lyra raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Diplomatic, you?" Alex chuckled, shaking his head. "Yeah, I know. Doesn't really fit the image, does it? But yeah, I'm supposed to be here to represent Earth in some trade negotiations. I'm just not very good at it." Lyra's laughter rang out like music, drawing the attention of few passers-by. "You're a human diplomat who doesn't know how to negotiate. That's adorable." "Adorable isn't exactly the word I'd use," Alex muttered, feeling a flush of embarrassment creep up his neck. "More like unprepared or out of place. I don't know what I'm doing here." Lyra's expression softened, and she reached out to place a hand on his arm, her touch warm and surprisingly reassuring. "You're doing fine. Zephyria Prime can be overwhelming, even for those of us who've been here many times. But you're handling it better than most." Alex met her gaze, surprised by the sincerity in her voice. "Thanks," he said quietly. "I appreciate that." They continued to walk in silence for a few moments, the sounds of the marketplace filling the space between them. Alien merchants shouted their wares, and the smells of exotic foods wafted through the air, but Alex's focus remained on Lyra. He couldn't shake the feeling that there was something extraordinary about her, something beyond her stunning appearance and playful personality. There was a depth to her, a quiet strength that drew him in, making him feel like he was a part of something much bigger than himself. "Can I ask you something?" Alex said suddenly, breaking the silence. Lyra glanced at him, her silver eyes gleaming with curiosity. "Of course." "Why did you come up to me?" Alex asked, his brow furrowing slightly. "Out of all the people in the marketplace, why me? You don't seem like the type to approach random humans." Lyra smiled, a mischievous glint in her eyes. "Maybe I just found you interesting." Alex raised an eyebrow, clearly unconvinced. "Really? I mean, I'm just a guy wandering around, completely out of his depth. I don't exactly scream interesting." Lyra laughed again, but there was something different in her expression now, something more serious. "You'd be surprised," she said quietly. "Sometimes it's the people who feel the most out of place that are the most interesting. Besides, you looked like you needed a friend." Alex blinked, taken aback by her honesty. "A friend?" Lyra nodded, her gaze softening. "Yeah, I've seen a lot of people come through Zephyria Prime, but not many of them look like you did. You looked lost, and I guess I just wanted to help." Alex was silent for a moment, processing her words. There was a vulnerability in what she had said, a recognition of something deeper that he hadn't even realized about himself. She had seen through the confident facade he had tried to maintain, and instead of mocking him or brushing him off, she had offered him something rare, a genuine connection. "Thanks," he said finally, his voice soft. "I didn't realize how much I needed that." Lyra smiled, and for a moment, the noise of the marketplace seemed to fade away, leaving just the two of them standing together in the midst of the chaos. There was something powerful in that silence, something unspoken that hung between them, but neither of them moved to break it. Just as the moment began to stretch, a loud crash echoed through the marketplace, shattering the peaceful atmosphere. Alex and Lyra turned in unison to see a group of large, hulking creatures pushing their way through the crowd, knocking over stalls and sending vendors scrambling to get out of their way. "What the hell is going on?" Alex muttered, his heart racing as he instinctively stepped closer to Lyra. "Trouble," Lyra said grimly, her eyes narrowing as she watched the creatures advance. "Those are Thrax. They're not known for their diplomacy." Alex swallowed hard, his mind racing as he tried to figure out what to do. "What do they want?" "Probably to cause chaos," Lyra said, her voice tense. "They're mercenaries. They take jobs that involve disruption." "Great," Alex muttered, glancing around for an escape route. "What do we do?" Before Lyra could answer, one of the Thrax spotted them and let out a low growl, its beady eyes locking onto Alex. "Human," it hissed, its voice thick and menacing. "You're coming with us." Alex's blood ran cold as the creature began to lumber toward him, its massive form towering over the crowd. He glanced at Lyra, panic flashing in his eyes. "What do they want with me?" Lyra's expression hardened, and she stepped in front of him, her stance protective. "Stay behind me," she ordered, her voice firm. "I'll handle this." "Wait, what?" Alex began, but before he could finish his sentence, Lyra raised her hand and a brilliant flash of light erupted from her palm, sending the Thrax stumbling backward in surprise. The marketplace erupted into chaos as the other Thrax began to advance, but Lyra stood her ground, her eyes blazing with determination. Alex watched in awe as she moved with a grace and precision that belied her slender frame, using her powers to fend off the mercenaries with ease. As the Thrax retreated, clearly outmatched, Lyra turned to Alex, her expression softening once again. "Are you okay?" Alex nodded, still in shock from what he had just witnessed. "What? How did you do that?" Lyra smiled, her eyes twinkling with amusement. "There's a lot you don't know about me, human." Alex stared at her for a moment, his mind racing. He had come to Zephyria Prime expecting nothing more than a routine diplomatic mission, but now he found himself standing beside an alien girl who had just saved his life, and who was clearly more powerful than he could have ever imagined. As the dust began to settle and the marketplace returned to its usual bustling state, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that his journey with Lyra was just beginning. There was something extraordinary about her, something that went beyond her stunning appearance and her playful personality. And as they stood together in the aftermath of the chaos, Alex knew that whatever came next, he wasn't facing it alone. "I guess I owe you one," Alex said, offering her a grateful smile. Lyra chuckled, shaking her head. "You don't owe me anything. But if you're up for it, I think we've got a lot more to explore." Alex grinned, feeling a surge of excitement pulse through him. "I'm up for it." Together, they turned and began to walk deeper into the heart of Zephyria Prime, their journey just beginning, the bond between them growing stronger with every step. The vibrant streets of Zephyria Prime unfurled before them like an endless tapestry of sights and sounds, each corner revealing new wonders. Alex walked beside Lyra, his heart still racing from the encounter with the Thrax, but excitement began to overshadow his fear. The colorful stalls filled with exotic foods and shimmering fabrics created a feast for the senses, and he couldn't help but feel a sense of adventure bubbling up inside him. "Where to next?" Alex asked, glancing at Lyra, who was seemingly in her element. Her confidence was infectious, and he found himself drawn in by her enthusiasm. Lyra's eyes sparkled as she looked around, taking in the vibrant chaos of the marketplace. I think we should go to the Sky Market. It's one of the best places to see the true beauty of Zephyria Prime, she said, her voice filled with excitement. Plus, they have the best local delicacies. Sky Market. Alex repeated, curious. What's that? It's a floating market that hovers above the city, connected by bridges and platforms, Lyra explained, gesturing animatedly. You can see the entire city from up there. It's breathtaking. Count me in, Alex replied, feeling a surge of eagerness. Lead the way. They navigated through the bustling crowd, and as they walked, Lyra shared stories of her home, describing the diverse cultures and species that inhabited Zephyria Prime. Alex listened intently, fascinated by her descriptions of alien customs and traditions. He found himself captivated not only by the world she described, but also by the way her eyes lit up with passion. As they approached a large archway adorned with glowing crystals, the sounds of the marketplace faded, replaced by the rhythmic hum of machinery. The archway led to a series of transparent tubes, each filled with a swirling, iridescent mist. Lyra grabbed his hand and led him toward one of the tubes. Hold on tight, she said, a playful grin on her face. Before Alex could respond, they were swept away into the tube, which propelled them upward with surprising speed. The sensation of rising through the air filled Alex with exhilaration, and he couldn't help but laugh at the sheer thrill of it. As they ascended, glimpses of the city unfolded below them, an intricate web of colors and lights, alive with activity. Within moments, they emerged from the tube onto a sprawling platform in the Sky Market, where the atmosphere shifted from chaotic to enchanting. Floating stalls glimmered under the light of multiple suns, each showcasing wares that seemed to defy the laws of physics. Colors and shapes merged in a beautiful display, creating a sensory overload that made Alex's heart race. Welcome to the Sky Market, Lyra declared, her voice filled with pride as she gestured around them. Isn't it amazing? It's incredible. Alex breathed, taking in the sight of the bustling market suspended high above the city. He felt like he had stepped into a dream, a world far removed from his own. They wandered through the stalls, sampling strange but delicious foods, from sweet pastries filled with unknown fruits to savory dishes that tingled on his tongue. Each bite was an adventure, a taste of a world he had never known. Lyra laughed as he tried to navigate the unfamiliar flavors, her joy infectious. As they explored, Lyra paused in front of a stall displaying shimmering crystals of varying sizes. These are energy crystals, she explained, picking one up and holding it up to the light. They're used for powering technology, and they can store energy from stars. Some people even use them for healing. Wow, Alex said, his eyes widening as he observed the crystal's facets glimmering like a galaxy trapped within. That's amazing. Can we get one? Lyra smiled, her expression thoughtful. They can be quite expensive, but I might have an idea. She leaned closer, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. I know a vendor who might trade one for some Earth items. Would you be up for it? Alex felt a thrill of excitement course through him. Absolutely. What do you need me to do? Lyra grinned mischievously. Follow my lead. She led him through the market, weaving through the crowd until they reached a small stall that was tucked away in a corner, its goods less flashy but intriguing nonetheless. An older Zephyrian, with skin patterned like the night sky, sat behind the counter, observing them with keen eyes. Lyra, what brings you here? The vendor asked, a smile breaking across his face. And who is this human? This is Alex, she introduced, her voice warm. He's visiting from Earth, and I thought we might find a way to trade for one of your energy crystals. The vendor raised an eyebrow, clearly intrigued. A human, you say? What do you have to offer? Earth items are rare. Alex's heart raced at the prospect of making a trade. He rummaged through his bag, pulling out a few items he had brought with him. A compact solar charger, a small LED flashlight, and a few other trinkets. I have these, he said, laying them out on the counter. They might not be as exciting as your crystals, but they're practical. The vendor examined the items carefully, a thoughtful expression crossing his face. Interesting, he murmured, picking up the solar charger and turning it over in his hands. But tell me, what makes these items valuable to me? Before Alex could respond, Laura stepped in. Earth technology is unique. These items can be useful in ways we may not even understand. The solar charger can harness energy from your suns, and the flashlight, well, it's a rarity on Zephyria Prime. The vendor looked back and forth between them, considering their words. If I were to trade you a crystal, what guarantee do I have that these items will function as you say? Alex's stomach twisted slightly as he realized the weight of the vendor's words. I could demonstrate how the solar charger works, he offered, feeling a surge of determination. I'll show you how it collects energy. You'll see it's worth it. The vendor's eyes sparkled with interest. Very well, human. Show me. With Lyra watching closely, Alex set up the solar charger on the counter, positioning it to catch the light filtering through the marketplace. The vendor and Lyra leaned in, their eyes fixed on the device as he explained its function. As the sun's rays hit the charger, a small green light flickered to life. Alex couldn't help but smile as he saw the vendor's eyes widen in surprise. See, it collects energy from light. It's portable and efficient, ideal for any traveler. The vendor chuckled, clearly impressed. You have ingenuity, human. I can respect that. After a moment's consideration, he nodded. I'll make you a trade. 1 energy crystal for these items. Deal, Alex replied, relief flooding through him as they exchanged goods. The vendor handed over a small, glowing energy crystal, and Alex felt a rush of excitement as he held it in his hands. Lyra beamed at him, clearly proud. You did it, Alex. I knew you could. As they stepped away from the stall, Alex glanced at the crystal, its vibrant colors shifting and swirling within. I can't believe we actually traded for this. Thank you for believing in me. It was all you, Lyra said, her smile brightening the air around them. You have a knack for this. They continued to explore the sky market, their laughter echoing through the platforms as they shared stories and jokes. Time slipped away as they lost themselves in each other's company, and with every passing moment, Alex felt a deeper connection forming between them. But just as the sun began to set, casting a golden hue over the market, the air shifted. Alex's instincts kicked in, a sudden feeling of unease washing over him. He glanced around, noting the tension in the crowd as whispers spread like wildfire. Lyra, what's going on? He asked, his voice laced with concern. Lyra's expression shifted from joy to seriousness. I don't know, but something feels off. Just then, a loud crash echoed through the market, drawing their attention. A massive figure appeared at the edge of the platform, another thrak, larger and more imposing than the first. Its eyes glinted with malice as it scanned the crowd, and Alex's heart sank. Lyra, we need to get out of here, he urged, grabbing her arm. No, she replied firmly, her voice filled with determination. We can't run. If we do, it will only cause more panic. But it's coming right toward us, Alex exclaimed, his pulse quickening. I'll handle it, Lyra said, her eyes narrowing as she stepped forward, her energy crackling around her like electricity. Trust me. Lyra, wait, Alex called after her, panic rising within him as she moved to confront the thrak. The crowd began to scatter, but Lyra stood her ground, a force of nature in the face of impending danger. Get back, she shouted, her voice resonating with authority. You don't want to do this. The thrak let out a deep, guttural growl, its eyes narrowing as it focused on Lyra. You're the one who meddled earlier. You think you can protect the human. Lyra took a step forward, her energy swirling around her like a tempest. I won't let you hurt anyone. You're not welcome here. Alex watched in a mix of awe and fear, realizing just how brave Lyra was. He felt torn between the instinct to protect her and the understanding that she was capable of defending herself. As the tension escalated, he knew he had to act. Lyra, he shouted, urgency filling his voice. Let me help. No, she replied, her gaze fierce. Stay back. I can handle this. The Thrak lunged forward, and in an instant, Lyra unleashed a burst of energy that illuminated the sky, striking the creature and sending it staggering back. Alex felt a surge of hope, but it quickly turned to dread as the Thrak regained its footing, more furious than ever. Run, Alex, Lyra shouted, her voice laced with desperation. Get to safety. Before he could respond, the Thrak charged at Lyra, and Alex's instincts took over. Without thinking, he dashed toward her, ready to stand by her side. The crowd had cleared, leaving them exposed, but he couldn't abandon her now. As he reached her, Lyra turned to him, her expression softening for just a moment. I told you so. I'm not leaving you, Alex declared, determination flooding his veins. We face this together. Just as the Thrak prepared to attack, a blinding flash of light erupted from above. Alex looked up, squinting against the brilliance. A ship, sleek and metallic, hovered above the market, its engines roaring to life. The Thrak faltered, its attention drawn away from them. Get to cover, a voice boomed from the ship, a figure appearing in the hatchway. We'll handle this. Without waiting for further instructions, Alex grabbed Lyra's hand and pulled her toward a nearby stall for shelter. They ducked behind it, breathless and terrified, as the ship's weapons fired down upon the Thrak, lighting up the night with bursts of energy. What is happening? Alex shouted over the noise, his heart racing. I think reinforcements have arrived, Lyra replied, her voice barely audible amid the chaos. But we can't stay here. The Thrak roared in anger, retaliating against the ship's attacks. Alex's heart pounded as he and Lyra peered out from their hiding place, watching the fierce battle unfold before them. With a final surge of power, the ship unleashed a concentrated beam of energy, striking the Thrak squarely. The creature staggered back, its form dissolving into smoke and shadows as it vanished into the night. A cheer erupted from the remaining crowd as the ship hovered above, and Alex and Lyra emerged from their hiding spot. We did it, he exclaimed, relief flooding through him. But Lyra's expression was one of worry. We can't stay here. The Thraks won't give up so easily. We need to find somewhere safe. As the crowd began to disperse, Alex nodded, realizing the gravity of their situation. Where do we go? Lyra took a deep breath, determination returning to her voice. Follow me. I know a place where we can regroup and plan our next move. They hurried through the market, weaving between stalls and people until they reached a secluded area that felt safe. The sounds of celebration began to fade as the two of them found a moment of respite. Are you okay? Alex asked, concern etched on his face as he examined Lyra. I'm fine, she replied, brushing off the question. But we need to stay alert. This isn't over yet. As they caught their breath, Alex couldn't shake the feeling of urgency within him. They were caught in a conflict that seemed much larger than either of them had anticipated, and he knew they had to find a way to protect not just themselves, but the people of Zephyria Prime. We'll figure this out, he said, his voice steady. Together. Lyra met his gaze, her eyes fierce with resolve. Together, she echoed, and in that moment, they both knew they were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The atmosphere in the safe house was tense, the walls lined with maps and holographic displays showing various regions of Zephyria Prime. Alex and Lyra stood at a large central table, the remnants of their recent confrontation still echoing in their minds. What's the plan? Alex asked, scanning the maps, his fingers tracing the outlines of different territories. He could feel the weight of the situation pressing down on him. The Thraks were not just a threat. They were a significant force bent on domination, and they wouldn't stop until they had what they wanted. Lyra glanced at the screens, her brow furrowed in concentration. We need to gather more information about their movements and their base of operations. If we can find a way to disrupt their supply lines or communication, we might stand a chance. Sounds risky, Alex replied, crossing his arms. What if we get caught? Lyra met his gaze, her eyes burning with determination. Then we fight. I won't let them take this planet without a fight. Just then, the door slid open, revealing a tall, imposing figure clad in a sleek, armored uniform. The newcomer had an air of authority about him, and Alex felt a mix of apprehension and curiosity. Commander Voss, Lyra acknowledged, standing straighter. You're here. We need to talk, Commander Voss said, his voice commanding. The Thrax are regrouping, and we can't afford to be reactive. We need a strategy. Alex felt a shiver run down his spine. He had heard stories about Commander Voss, an experienced leader with a reputation for being ruthless. He wasn't just a soldier, he was a tactician, and he demanded results. What do you propose? Lyra asked, her voice steady despite the tension. We strike first, Voss replied, his gaze intense. We gather a small team and infiltrate one of their supply depots. If we can cut off their resources, it will create chaos among their ranks. And how do you suggest we do that? Alex interjected, cautious but eager to contribute. Voss turned his attention to Alex, sizing him up. You have experience in guerrilla tactics, don't you? You fought back on Earth. Alex hesitated, memories of his own battles flashing through his mind. Yes, but this is different. The Thrax are more organized. Exactly, Voss said, his voice low, but filled with conviction. They underestimate our ability to adapt. That's where we can exploit their weaknesses. Lyra nodded, her expression thoughtful. We'll need more than just brute force. We need to outsmart them. Then we gather intelligence first, Voss replied, glancing at a nearby screen displaying a live feed of Thrax activity. We can use drones to survey the area before we move in. Drones. Alex echoed, intrigued. What do you have in mind? Voss motioned to a control panel, and the screen flickered to life, displaying a 3D model of a small, agile drone. We have prototypes that can evade detection. We can send them into their territory to scout. Lyra's eyes lit up. That could work. If we can pinpoint their defenses, we can plan our attack more effectively. I'll need a team, Voss said, his tone resolute. And I'll need your skills, both of you. Alex felt a rush of adrenaline at the thought of being part of something bigger than himself, but apprehension bubbled beneath the surface. What if we get caught? We'd be outnumbered. Voss met his gaze, his expression unwavering. Then we fight to the end, but if we're smart about this, we can outmaneuver them. As Voss detailed the plan, Alex felt a mix of excitement and dread. They were stepping into the lion's den, and every instinct told him it was dangerous. But the urgency of the situation pushed him forward. The fate of Zephyria Prime depended on their actions. Later that evening, as the sun set and darkness enveloped the safe house, Alex and Lyra prepared for their mission. They gathered their gear, the weight of their weapons heavy in their hands. Alex could feel the tension in the air, a blend of fear and determination. Are you ready for this? Lyra asked, her voice steady but softening. She stepped closer, her eyes searching his. More than ever, Alex replied, meeting her gaze with resolve. We can do this. Lyra smiled, a fierce glimmer in her eyes. Together. As they set out into the night, the landscape of Zephyria Prime stretched before them, illuminated by the distant glow of city lights and the faint outlines of frack patrols. Alex's heart raced, and he took a deep breath, steeling himself for what lay ahead. The trio, Lyra, Alex, and Commander Voss, moved through the shadows, their footsteps silent as they navigated the terrain. Each step brought them closer to the Thrax supply depot, a stronghold that could shift the balance of power in their favor. As they approached, the glow of the depot's lights grew brighter, and the sounds of Thrax activity became more pronounced. Alex's nerves tingled, a blend of excitement and fear coursing through him. They reached a vantage point overlooking the facility, and he crouched beside Lyra, who was scanning the area with a pair of advanced binoculars. What do you see? He whispered, his voice barely audible. Lyra's brow furrowed in concentration. Several guards on patrol. Looks like they're rotating shifts every 20 minutes. If we're quick, we can slip in unnoticed. Do you think we can disable their communications? Alex asked, scanning the area for vulnerabilities. Lyra nodded. If we can reach the control room, we might be able to disrupt their operations long enough to create confusion. Then let's do it, Alex said, determination igniting within him. They waited for the guards to change shifts, timing their movements with precision. The moment the guards turned their backs, they slipped into the shadows, moving swiftly and silently toward the depot. As they neared the entrance, Alex's heart raced. He glanced at Lyra, whose expression was a mask of focus and resolve. This was the moment they had trained for, the chance to turn the tide against their. Suddenly, a loud clang echoed in the night, causing both Alex and Lyra to freeze in their tracks. A guard had dropped a tool, and the sound reverberated through the air. Alex's heart sank. They had to move quickly. Go, Voss hissed, leading the charge. They dashed toward the entrance, slipping through the door just as the guards turned to investigate the noise. Inside, the air was thick with tension, and the hum of machinery filled their ears. Where's the control room? Voss asked, scanning the interior. Straight ahead, down the hall, Lyra replied, urgency in her voice. They rushed through the corridor, their footsteps echoing against the metal flooring. As they reached the control room door, Alex took a deep breath, readying himself for what was inside. With a swift motion, Voss kicked the door open, and they burst inside, weapons drawn. The room was filled with screens displaying various feeds from around the facility. Several technicians looked up in shock. Hands up, Voss shouted, leveling his weapon at the startled personnel. We're in charge now. Alex's heart raced as the technicians complied, raising their hands in surrender. Lyra, get to the main console, Voss ordered. Lyra moved quickly, her fingers dancing across the keyboard as she worked to disable the systems. Alex watched, adrenaline coursing through him, ready for anything. The tension in the room escalated as alarms began to blare, a warning echoing through the facility. We don't have much time, Voss shouted, urgency lacing his, I'm almost there. Lyra replied, her eyes flicking across the screen. Just a few more seconds. Suddenly, the door swung open, and several armed Thrax soldiers stormed in, their eyes blazing with fury. Alex's heart dropped as they raised their weapons, and instinct kicked in. Get down, he shouted, tackling Lyra to the ground as blaster fire erupted around them. Voss fired back, returning fire with precision. Alex felt the heat of the battle surge around them, the chaos unfolding in real time. The technicians screamed and ducked for cover, and Alex could see the determination in Voss's eyes as he fought. Lyra, we need to go, Alex shouted, pulling her to her feet. I'm almost done, she insisted, her focus unwavering. But time was running out. Alex glanced around the room, calculating their options. They needed to get out before the Thrax overwhelmed them. Now, Voss yelled, taking out another soldier. Lyra, we're leaving. With a final keystroke, Lyra disabled the systems, and the screens went dark. Let's go, she shouted, racing toward the door. Alex followed closely, adrenaline fueling their escape. They darted down the hallway, the alarms blaring behind them, signaling the Thrax realization that their supply depot was under attack. Move, move, Voss barked, leading the charge. As they navigated the facility, Alex could hear the commotion behind them. More Thrax were joining the pursuit. They had to reach the exit before they were cornered. Finally, they burst through the back door and into the night, but the danger was far from over. Go, 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 Voss urged as they sprinted toward the trees lining the perimeter of the depot. They ran through the underbrush, the sounds of blaster fire and shouting fading behind them. The thrill of adrenaline pushed them forward, but the weight of their mission hung heavy in the air. As they reached a clearing, they paused to catch their breath. Alex glanced at Lyra, her face flushed with excitement and fear. But Voss's expression was serious. This was just the beginning. We have to regroup and prepare for the backlash. Alex nodded, the reality of their actions sinking in. They had disrupted the Thrax operations, but the fight was far from over. As they made their way back to their safe house, the gravity of their mission weighed heavily on them. They were no longer just survivors, they were warriors, standing against an oppressive force that threatened their world. And together, they would find a way to reclaim Zephyria Prime from the clutches of the Thrax.